Well, now we switch our attention to something, of course, which you have just seen. The killings in South Africa is one too many, and the hope continues to be this would be the last. But every time that happens, this is what we say. Let's get some more perspectives on this matter from a legal practitioner, Mr. Victor Giwa. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It must be really disheartening, when you heard this again.
Yeah, it's really not just disheartening. It's painful. It's painful that Nigerians, especially in South Africa, are targets of all kind of brutality. And the baffling part of it is that it seems that government is not looking at it as a major issue and a major concern that your citizens are being dehumanized.
You think so?
Yeah, because, you don't, if you look at the figure, between 2016 and now, 2019, 127 Nigerians in South Africa have been killed. And between January this year and June, we have lost about 10 Nigerians. I'm talking about this year alone. Between January of this year to July of this year, 10 Nigerians have been killed. And among the 127 South Africans that have been killed in the past 3 years, 13 of them were killed by the South African police. And that is alarming. There's really a need for us as a country to start investigating and interrogating what exactly is wrong with Nigerians in South Africa.
The talk that many people have heard, I'm sure you have also heard the same, is that this is as a result of the high rate of crime in South Africa. Does that mean anything to you?
Yes, high rate of crime in South Africa should not be punished on Nigerians. And I think we really need to look at it. You see, and I think that is where the government it has nothing to do with the political party. It has nothing to do with APC. It has nothing to do with PDP. It's about Nigeria. Nigeria as citizens must understand the fact that it may be Agnes today. It will be Jennifer tomorrow. It will be Kunle next tomorrow. It will be Chindima next day. So we need to take ownership of the fact that every Nigerian lives matter.
Now, government, of course, has continued to take on this diplomatically and all of that. Even, somewhere in Japan at the moment, we understand that just yesterday, the two presidents, Nigeria and South African presidents, spoke, and of course, needless to say, our president, expressed his great displeasure about the killings, So, diplomatic conversations are going on. Do you think that's enough?
It's not enough. This is something similar happened in 2016. And I was just watching. It was on Saturday, and I was just going through my social media page, and I saw live videos of Nigerians being brutalized. And I tried to cross-check, to see if it was true. So I had the opportunity of calling somebody in South Africa. And the guy I was speaking with was telling me that he's hiding, like this, undercover. And what was the reason? He said Nigerians were targets. And let me say this. I am not saying that when any Nigerian commits crime in any part of the world, that they should not be punished. But what we are saying is that when such punishment is targeted at you because you're a Nigerian, that becomes an issue. So when I got that information, I was able to put in together some of our members of Advocate for People's Rights and Justice, and we protested. We were in all the medias on 26th of April 2016. We went to South African embassy and we shut it down, and we said, look, we need the South African ambassador to address Nigerians, to tell us exactly what they are doing, to at least let Nigerians know, let Nigerians have a sense of belonging, a sense of protection. And we must understand the fact that every Nigerian has the right to live in any part of the world. It is contained in African Charter on Human and People's Rights. It is a right. So it is not that if Nigerians are in South Africa or they're in Ghana, that is a privilege. No. Just like any other South Africans and Ghanaians can be in Nigeria, and their interests will be protected. So we did that protest. We have to shut down DXTV, some of their interests and all of that. Until when we got there, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, had to call me and said, okay, you need to come with a paper, you need to come with a petition. So I was asking myself, if we had not protested, if we had not gone on the street, you mean the government wouldn't have taken a proactive action? And we just saw recently when the National Association of Nigerian Students went on protest, and 2 or 3 days after we saw some actions. You see, diplomatic relationship seems not to be making any sense, I must say, to the South African government. And let me tell you,
so if I can quickly butt in, you said that the Minister for Foreign Affairs engaged you,
yes,
and said you should come with a protest
petition,
letter.
yes.
Does that mean that there is no report from Nigerian High Commission in South Africa that these things are happening?
Good question. And I followed the discussion then. What I discovered was that, you see, everybody said government bureaucracy, and that is one of the challenge we are having. I think that at that time, there was no communication between the South African embassy in Nigeria, in Nigerian embassy in South Africa, and that of the Foreign Affairs, because I was asking the same question. Now, why do you need to get a petition from me? Why do you need to get an official, statement from us? When these things are glaring, of course, you will want to see something written. And I don't really know how this diplomatic thing is done, but it was later we were told that based on our protest and based on our letter, the Nigerian government and some other protests and all of that, Nigerian government now, summoned the South African ambassador, and they start interacting with the Nigerian ambassador in South Africa. But again, that tells you how this thing really works. That tells you how, this thing is bureaucracy. Some of them will want to say, oh, in Nigerian embassy in South Africa, you hear things like, we are investigating. You hear things like, oh, we are looking at the situation. You hear things that we are studying the situation. How long do you study a situation that has to do with the life and death of your citizens? And I need to make this point, and I need to make it right here. I want to say that we should not be stigmatized that Nigerians are criminals. And you see, that is what is going on everywhere. If you look at the media today, oh, you hear 87 Nigerians have been arrested in United States by FBI. You will see, 20 Nigerians are in the killing, whatever, to be executed in South Africa. And there is this thing that, Nigerians are criminal. No, we need to state that, look, we are good people.
So how do we do that?
Good. And that is what the government needs to start engaging right now.
How?
The government needs to start talking to people. National Orientation Agency and other related government agencies that have the statutory right, they need to start talking. They need to start letting people know. They need to start letting the world. For example, I will tell you, between 2017 and 2019, that is when Donald Trump was sworn in, Americans had 20 shootings in America. And just 3 weeks ago, on the 3rd of August, we had what was described by Al Jazeera as the deadliest shooting in America. In Alaska, in Texas, when one Patrick Shooks, 21 years old young man, opened fire to at least 20 persons in Walmart in Texas. 4 hours after that incident, similar thing happened in Dayton, in Ohio, where 9 persons were killed and 26 persons were injured. Just less than 4 hours. But we don't move around saying that Americans are shooters so that we start wearing bulletproof on our streets. Or if you are anywhere close to an American, you start putting on bulletproof because you will be afraid that an American is going to open shots at you. But you see, the government keeps saying that, look, American first. America is the best economy. America is the best place to be. Nigerian government must start telling the world that we have good people. And I think government should start engaging people to do that. You don't have to politicize it. You don't have to give it as contract. We're not talking about contract. We're talking about what affects Nigeria as citizens.
Okay.
We have been dehumanized. You go to embassies, you see how Nigerians are treated. But government cannot sit down and watch that happen. We will not accept that.
Okay.
So when government wants to do that, they should. People like us, we are ready to volunteer to the government to tell them how we can engage these people and how they will let the world know, because we have other good Nigerians. While we are having 87 Nigerians in FBI list, we still have one Nigerian that was just they were just promoted some few days ago. His application was bought by Apple.
Okay, Mr. Victor, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be back to wrap it all up, because we want to know what other things can be done, at the diplomatic and other levels of engagement. Please stay with us. Mr. Victor Giwa, a legal practitioner, is still with us on this conversation on the killings in South Africa. And definitely, as you just heard, one of the comments that was made there is that crime is not inhuman. Crime is something committed against people. So on the one hand, it's the responsibility of the people. On the other hand, is the responsibility of government. And one of the things that you have said earlier is that the bureaucracy is being a problem.
Yes.
How?
Communication, sensitivity, response. Those are the key words you need in such situation. How do you communicate when you call a South African embassy or any embassy outside Nigeria? What is their response time? Who would be on desk? What would be their response? What would be their mode of communication? What is their character? How do they see your call? That is very key. We need to look at those persons who are in our embassies. Secondly, when you get those information, how do you analyze them? Then how do you give feedback? It is because when you don't have
feedback to who?
Yeah, feedback to the person who is calling. Any Nigerians have the right to go to the embassy, or they call the embassy to say what exactly is going on.
Unfortunately, one of the things that the Nigerians in South Africa say is that, as far as they are concerned, they do not have a good enough relationship. But what can be done?
Okay, that is alarming. I mean, how can we say that you are a citizen and you don't have a good relationship with your ambassador in a foreign country? I mean, the reason why he's there is because of you. If there are no Nigerians in South Africa, there's no need to have a Nigerian ambassador in South Africa. No. And this is what I'm talking about, communication. So what is the embassy or what is the government doing about this particular point you just made? This particular threat, this particular comment.
On one hand, we had the meeting, for example, the brief meeting between President Buhari and the President of South Africa. We understand that we'll have a major meeting in October. And, I was going through a press release by the South African government. By the way, between Tuesday and Wednesday, I understand that Pretoria has been, going through a lot of riots. There have been riots across Pretoria. There was a taxi driver that was killed, apparently, and some people thought it was done by a Nigerian. Apparently, it was done by another national. And yes, this had caused a lot of riots, looting, and what have you. In fact, there are reports that Nigerians there are scared to come out, especially because they own stores in that area. If you see videos online, you see people going into shops and looting that shop. So now, a meeting was held yesterday. The president of South Africa gave out a comment saying he condemns those actions. Nobody should die, and what have you. In October, we're meant to have the meeting. So the question now is, between now and then, I mean, a lot needs to be done. So what should, as a matter of urgency, be done to forestall this?
You see, such discussion should not just be between the presidents of the country. The ambassador should start taking some steps. And after, like you answering your question, from there, we need to see order by the president of that hosting country like South Africa. South Africa should be talking to the police. South Africa should be talking to the law enforcement agency in South Africa. That look, we are we are saying, we are not saying that if any Nigerian commits an offense, the person should not be punished. But don't generalize it. Don't say, look, I mean, there is a black person that commits an offense, you just presume that if it's not South African, it's a Nigerian, because Nigerians, they are prone to, they have potentials to commit crime. That is the point we are making. That you need to investigate. Because that person could be from Botswana, that person could be from Gambia, that person could be from Zambia and all of that. So they need to be an instant step taken by that government to communicate to the security agency, because the security agency of any country protects the citizens and non-citizens alike. There should not be discrimination between a South African and a Nigerian when an offense is committed. And the second part I want to say is that our culture, we need to look at our culture. We need to look at it, we need to review our culture. We need to look at what exactly is our cultural value. And let me ask you, you will see, and I've said it in 2 or 3 occasions to the Nigerian copyright. You hear things like this, 30 billion for my account, oh. And that is what we are singing. So in Nigeria, the issue is about, I don't know why we should be talking about oh, 30 billion, come and chop my money. There's a song that says, you will chop my money. What are we saying? Is that the kind of communication that should be in the public space? If you want to hear that kind of music, you should go to a club. But we shouldn't be seeing it on public media. Those things affect our culture.
So you think music is largely responsible for
culture? Yes, music is part of it. So I don't just want to narrow it down to music. But so it is the information that is getting to the minds of Nigerian youth. So we try to exalt money. We don't talk about character. We don't talk about issues. We don't talk about value. We place it on money. The amount, not just money, the amount of money you have in your account, like that music was saying.
On a final note, Mr. Victor Giwa, on a final note, one word to the Foreign Minister, to Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
They have to be proactive and speedy in their actions.
And a word to the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. Yes,
Nigerian diaspora should be, they should comport themselves very well. They should talk to themselves. They should engage themselves and have a close relationship with their members.
Okay.
So instead of 30 billion in their accounts, we should probably say responsibility, I'm responsible.
Yes, that is what we should be hearing.
We look forward to that kind of stuff.
All right, Mr. Victor Giwa is a legal practitioner weighing in on this matter. Thank you very much for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
All right, one break, and when we return, something of interest to especially Lagosians. Stay with us.